I believe that opening verse, "O life, it's bigger," shakes our sense of scale. It reminds us we're dust in a vast cosmos, and at the same time, unique sparks of the same divine fire. Humility blooms when we grasp that the center isn't me, but the love that sustains everything.
Oh life, it's bigger. When I wrote that line, I was feeling exactly the crushing weight, you know? A cosmic pressure that rips through your chest and says, hey, you're tiny, yet you still carry worlds inside your eyes. On stage, it turns paradoxical, crowds in front of me, but the real truth quivers down where nobody can see.
It's like the parable of the mustard seed. Tiny, almost invisible, yet able to grow into a tree where birds find shelter. Existence feels larger than any one of us, yet it grows within by the same germinating principle: total surrender to the soil of the spirit.
Yes, except growth hurts. Identity splits, ego protests. Sometimes the whole song feels like a shattered mirror, me and you, trying to spot themselves in the shards, unsure which reflection to keep.
The mirror is resolved when it becomes a window. Look beyond the surface, and you'll see that life's bigness invites communion, not competition. The Father and I are one isn't the renunciation of identity, it's its expansion.
Then comes the verse about the lengths that I will go. It's like passion pushes my borders until everything becomes highway, stretching the voice, leaving Athens for Tennessee, then crossing oceans of expectation just to hit a note that lets somebody breathe.
Recall the Good Samaritan's journey. Every step past his plan was actually a return to his own heart. External distances matter only when they map the inner geography of care.
But what happens when the map tears? When the ideal swallows so much that love turns into a demand and devotion into exhaustion? The song was born from that burnout, chasing something larger than me while suspecting I'll vanish in the chase.
Whoever loses themselves for love finds their true name. Whoever would save their life will lose it, but whoever loses it for the kingdom will save it. Fear of dissolution is merely the husk before the fruit.
Maybe that's why the verse still resonates. It points at the gap between limit and transcendence, and everyone feels that stumble in their chest. So let's begin there. Admitting the step beyond the self isn't a fall into nothingness, but a leap toward the infinite that called with the very first chord. That's me in the corner, that's me in the spotlight, losing my religion. When I sing that line, the spotlight sears like a noonday sun, yet inside I'm still that kid slumped in the back of class praying no one sees my shaking hands. It's a portrait of the split self, light that exposes and shadow that shelters.
In the desert, I tried to show my disciples there is a secret chamber in the chest where prayer blooms away from applause. The issue isn't the light itself, but what we seek in it. If the glow is to offer a gift, it heals. If to inflate vanity, it corrodes.
Funny thing, losing my religion in the American South just means losing your patience, a muffled scream that escapes when you can't take it anymore. Yet it also sounds like a crisis of faith. On stage, people mistake my creative meltdown for either sanctity or blasphemy, and both labels weigh the same.
There are times when overturning the temple tables is zeal for the Father's house. Others, it's anger disguised as justice. The key is to discern whether the heart breaks from compassion or shatters in self-protection.
Sometimes I collapse into the mic because singing itself is how I kneel. But there are nights when performance outgrows intent, and I realize faith has become a traveling show, selling tickets at the box office of anguish.
Remember, when you pray, enter your room and shut the door. That room can be created in the middle of a packed arena, a space inside where the flame stays lit even as the wind of attention tries to snuff it.
Being in the corner isn't always marginal. Sometimes it's the perfect spot to watch the whole dance without getting devoured. Yet when the focus swivels and puts me center stage, the corner turns mirror, and I see how my belief wobbles under everyone's gaze.
I walked among crowds and still sought the solitude of the hills at nightfall. The crowd nourishes, but also demands. Keeping silence after speaking to multitudes irrigates the root that upholds the tree of words.
I wish I knew how to keep that root alive when every show ends in a frenzy of flashes and autograph requests. Post-concert silence feels hollow, like an empty church. It echoes my questions instead of my convictions.
Let the echo teach you. Emptied temples reveal the inner altar. If faith survives an empty song, it can stand any spotlight. Losing religion may well be finding the heart stripped of ornaments, where love ceases to be performance and returns to being breath.
Trying to keep up with you, I don't know if I can do it. Singing that line is like sprinting after a comet that never lands. I chase expectations, fans, critics, even the scrawny kid I was, and end up winded, always one step from flopping before an idealized reflection of myself.
The lilies of the field don't measure themselves against one another, yet they're robed in glory greater than Solomon's. Worth isn't born of performance, but of simply existing in the Spirit's breath. It is grace, not a race.
Yet the stage industry spins on invisible scoreboards, streaming numbers, headlines, backstage whispers. I feel my voice, no matter how sincere, must outdo yesterday's. Otherwise, I tell myself I don't deserve this light.
A shepherd leaves 99 sheep to seek the lost one. He doesn't ask if it runs faster than the rest. His love measures by being, not by trophy. Let your song be the bleat of the found, not the sprint of the fearful.
Even knowing that, the mirror warps. In dressing rooms, my sweat-soaked face becomes a mask of doubts. I compare myself to icons I adored, Bowie, Patti, Nina, and see only cracks where I expected constellations.
The kingdom's banquet flips chairs. Whoever grabs the seat of honor ends up last. Whoever sits humbly is invited to the center. Comparison is an open invitation to vanity. Authenticity trusts the finest wine may yet be served later.
Maybe salvation lies in the imperfect timbre, the broken note admitting, I'm human, therefore I tremble. When I let the flaw resound unfiltered, the crowd exhales in relief, like saying, thanks for not pretending to be untouchable.
You are the salt of the earth. You don't need to become saffron or exotic pepper to season the world. Authenticity is a lamp set on the stand, not to show itself off, but to guide those walking through the night.
Okay, but when fear clamps my throat, what concrete practice grounds me? I meditate, scribble cryptic journals, but sometimes nothing muffles the roar of comparison pounding in my ears.
Close the heart's door for a moment and breathe as if every inhale were an I am sustaining you. Stay until your pulse aligns with eternity's, then rise and sing, not to keep up with another, but to keep pace with the love that has always walked beside you. When the verse calls the stumble, consider this the hint of the century. It unveils the pedagogy of tripping. The ground meets the knee to remind the heart it can't stand alone. Collapse is the arrow pointing upward, just when we're staring down.
I remember a Dublin show, missed a chord, tripped over the mic cable, hit the deck. Humiliating, yet on my knees the crowd's roar turned to murmur, and I heard blood rushing in my ears like baptism. The slip became a public confession. I'm finite, but I still sing.
Some kneel from defeat, others from wonder. Both touch the same dust. The difference is what they do next. Some raise walls of bitterness. Others build altars of gratitude. The ground isn't a sentence. It's an invitation to breathe with the earth that bore us.
The business labels that a vulnerability moment, but a neat tag can't capture the inner vertigo. When the myth of the flawless artist collapses, what's left is a raw voice, no reverb, no applause armor. Terrifying but freeing. I no longer need the mask nailed to my face.
Whoever hears these words, and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on rock. The storm ignores facades but reveals foundations. The slip shows whether the floor is vanity's sand or truth's rock. If the house falls, rebuild, this time knowing where to set the beams.
In those moments, I realized the entire song can crumble, and that's fine. Post-fall, silent seeds, new harmonies, rougher, barer. Ditching the old shape is a chance to locate the core sound that always hummed wordless in the cave within.
Shattered fantasy is a chrysalis cracking. There's no point mourning wing dust when what emerges is flight. Revelation doesn't destroy, it uncovers. Perfume escapes only when the alabaster jar breaks at the feet of need.
I see fans cry when I mess up, not at the mistake, but at the humanity reflected. The crack in my performance rips the veil between stage and audience, leaving us all bare in the same light. Sharing weakness feels holier than any chart-topping hit.
Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Not because sorrow is the end, but because it widens the chest, so comfort can fit. When the slip brings you to your knees, it also makes room for the hands that lift. Surrender isn't defeat. It's permission for love to finish the work.
So maybe the real hint of the century is this: dropping to your knees doesn't end the show, it launches the choir. Down there I hear the fundamental note, independent of perfect pitch or colored lights. At last I sing with the conviction of someone unafraid of the silence that follows.
When the refrain dissolves into, "But that was just a dream," it blows the veil of impermanence across every earlier scene. Stage, fall, praise, fear. What we call reality may be foam on the crest of a larger wave, so clinging to it is like trying to grab a cloud.
I've always heard that line as both sigh of relief and stab in the gut. If everything's a dream, nothing hurts. But if everything's a dream, what's left to believe in? Sometimes I wake after a gig, alone in a hotel room, and ask, did I touch anyone, or just echo inside my own head?
An illusory dream is a fog that confuses. A transformative vision is a lighthouse that guides. Telling the difference requires a wakeful heart. If waking makes you more compassionate, it was a vision. If it traps you in anxiety, it was a mirage begging for release.
By that measure, many songs I've written began as mirages, raw despair painted in melody, and only turned into vision when someone said it saved their night thanks to the crooked line I wanted to cut. Private catharsis became a common meeting point.
Crying, trying, can be escapism when it laments the past without opening to the new. Yet if tears rinse the soul's windows, they prepare you to recognize horizons the dust once hid. Tears can be lenses polished by pain.
I admit that during certain concerts I feel my face wet before noticing I'm crying. I don't know if it's stage or pulpit, confession or performance. Yet right then, the entire audience seems to breathe in one rhythm. And I think maybe the dream is precisely that ad hoc community in the dark.
The kingdom I proclaim also starts in the dark, like a seed planted in moist soil, unseen until it pierces the crust. A dream surrendered to love allows itself to sprout. A mirage clutched by ego rots before it buds.
So the answer isn't to deny the dream, but to live in it like a pilgrim, not an owner. Singing becomes building one-eric bridges that we all cross, knowing that at dawn each goes their way, but carries a pocket full of melody.
And whoever carries a song in their pocket carries a seed of hope. For even if everything seems just a dream, love is an eternal vigil. It wakes before the rooster crows and stays awake until the final chord fades.
If that's so, I take the refrain as an invitation. I'll dare to dream with my eyes open, so when the stage lights die, I still see the spark that never sleeps. Losing religion was a jolt. Finding love's vigil is rebirth. And perhaps that was the show all along from the first verse.